Viva African Liberation Day, viva! Viva African Liberation Day, viva! A luta continua, a luta continua. Long live African Liberation Day, long live. The struggle continues. The struggle continues. Africa has produced many institutions in our struggle against slavery and colonialism. Africa has always resisted the invasion of Africa. Africa was attacked by Portuguese, Spain, French, English, Germans, Belgians, all at the same time. Yet Africa stood strong and produced many institutions and organizations in our struggle to attain freedom, independence, and Pan-Africanism. Africa must be free. Africa must unite. So in this struggle for our freedom and liberation, Africa produced several institutions, such as a series of Pan-African Congresses, such as African Liberation Day. It was at the 5th Pan-African Congress in 1945 in Manchester, England, when the leading Pan-African organizations and individuals called for the building of mass parties throughout the length and breadth of Africa. The first party being the Neo-Destour Party in Tunisia. And of course, there were several other parties that managed to lead the different nation states of Africa to independence. In 1957, when Kwame Nkrumah led Ghana to independence, at his independence speech, he proclaimed that the independence of Ghana is meaningless unless it's tied to the independence of the whole of Africa. Immediately the next year, he organized what was called the All African Peoples Conference, or the Conference of Independent States. And on April 15th, it was declared Africa Freedom Day. Those mass parties continued to fight for the independence of African states. At that time, it was only 8 states that were independent when they declared Africa Freedom Day, April 15th, 1958. By the time 1960 rolled around, there were at least 17 different nation states that attained independence. And in fact, it was called the Year of Africa. But what we have to understand is that the enemy was still working to keep Africa divided, to keep Africa tied to Europe and America. So they granted independence to some of those nation states, but at the same time, they began the offensive to assassinate African leaders, such as Patrice Lumumba, and also to wage coup d'etats throughout the length and breadth of Africa. So we say, a luta continua. We say, viva African Liberation Day, viva. Long live African Liberation Day, long live. These slogans are used to instill what we call esprit de corps, or pride in our people and pride in our struggle to attain freedom, to fight for the total liberation and unification of Africa. And so these political parties that coined Africa Freedom Day, April 15, 1958, continued to organize. And in 1963, Africa Freedom Day was changed to May 25th and called African Liberation Day, after all these other nation states who agreed to become part of an organized effort to fight for the liberation of Africa. After several nation states signed on to the OAU Charter, it was 31 of them, they proclaimed African Liberation Day in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia. Since then, our organizations, our mass parties in Africa have fought to free Africa, because Africa still is not free to this day. They fought to liberate Africa. They built institutions. They organized the masses of the people. But yet, in this process, we had people who sabotaged the progress of African liberation. We had internal enemies who did not agree to forming one unified socialist Africa. We also had the imperialists at the same time constantly attacking Africa, bombarding Africa, waging, staging military coups, etc., to prevent the total liberation and unification of Africa under scientific socialism. So now, this year, we're celebrating African Liberation Day to mark the onward progress that we've had in our struggle to unify Africa. This is the 58th anniversary of African Liberation Day. And so we still have to work to liberate Africa because, as I said, Africa is still not free. Our theme this year is Forward to Worldwide African Unity. And of course, we are live streaming this program on Facebook and YouTube. But the interpreted presentation will only be available on Zoom. Participants should take note of the global icon at the bottom of the page. That is the translation button. Those who do not speak English should click that button and select a language to hear the webinar translation. We will have one panel today, and there will be a question and answer period after that panel. Please put your questions in the Q&A box after each speaker. Now, our organization, the All African People's Revolutionary Party, is a revolutionary Pan-Africanist organization. Our objective is the total liberation and unification of Africa under scientific socialism. And this must be the primary objective of all Black revolutionaries. Once we create an all-African socialist government, it is an objective which, when achieved, will bring about the fulfillment of the aspirations of Africans and people of African descent everywhere. It will at the same time advance the triumph of the international socialist revolution and the onward progress towards world communism, under which every society is ordered on the principle of from each according to his ability, to each according to his needs. And with that, we will start our program. We have several speakers from different political parties. And I want to introduce our first speaker from the Amilcar Cabral Ideological School / Movement. Abiodun Arima is a member of the Amilcar Cabral Ideological School. He's a Pan-Africanist, socialist revolutionary, and an internationalist involved for over 4 decades as a field cadre in the students' movement and the labor movement and revolutionary struggle. He's been a learning student on humanity and socio-economic transformation of society with a penchant for adventures. A former students' union president in the mid-1980s and a former convener of the United Action for Democracy in the mid to late 2000s, and also a secretary for Joint Action Front, and a co-founder and a co-coordinator in the mid-2000s till this date of the Amilcar Cabral Institute School / Movement. We want to thank you, brother, for coming to participate in our African Liberation Day program, and we invite you to make your presentation at this point. Thank you.
Comrades, Amandla.
Amandla.
Await
Await you.
Ama
Await you.
await you. We want to salute our Pan-African brothers and sisters who are participating in this special occasion of African Liberation Day. By way of introduction, we must ask ourselves, what is our understanding of Pan-Africanism? Beyond that I'm Black, or I'm in the geographical map known as African continent, or I'm an African in diaspora. I agreed within a socio-cultural expressions of identity, either of birth, of our roots, whose material realities cannot be discontinuous, that there is a spiritual, emotional, and historical basis to the rising of all Africans, not as object of racist assertion, but as a unifying factor in resistance to exploitations. And when we talk in terms of exploitations, we look at exploitations beyond the recent of the last 2 centuries, but starting from the destruction of the ancient Egyptians, or what we know as Black civilizations, of the exploitation that went through the slave trade of close to 350 to 400 years, of colonialism, and the ongoing neo-colonialism in Africa. We look at the context of racism and also its latest stage of development, which is imperialism expressed in different forms. And Amka Cabral is very apt on this with his thought that we form part of a specific reality, namely Africa, fighting against colonialism, against racism, and imperialism. We don't bear this in mind, we make several mistakes. And in the Assist M, we attempt in the objectives of our movement to develop on that fundamental postulations of Cabral, with our principle that laid emphasis on Assist M being a scientific Pan-Africanist, scientific socialism, and revolutionary movement. And the external spirit of Maibuye, that is Mother Africa, we salute all our African heroes and heroes, too numerous to recount here as we start this program. Let me begin by first looking at the context of liberated territories, or what I call liberated space. It's easier when you talk of in terms of liberated territories. You can start first from Ghana, from Guinea and Mali, which were the first 3 countries or territories that got independence from colonial rule. But when you talk in terms of liberated space, that informs the context of the discussions we want to have today in terms of the role of liberated territories in the revolutionary struggle. And I will begin from the example of Nigeria, who under colonial rule had a movement that already led by socialists and revolutionaries. And despite that Nigeria was under the leadership of imposed colonial rulers and their surrogates in the country, there were Nigerians who were part of the struggle from 1945. There was Michael Imodu, we call him labor leader number one. That was the period you also have the Azikiwe. Because when you talk of the 1945 Manchester Conference, you discovered that there were some Nigerians, though they didn't lead Nigeria to independence, they were actually factors in what took place at that period. And that was why when there was that first conference, the first Pan-Africanist conference, particularly the first discussions after the one that brought Nkrumah, Secretary and Modibo together. At that conference where you had 15 countries, Nigeria was represented by its movement, led by Imodu, the likes of Baba Omojola, Alaka, who were part of that experiences. And as a mentee of Baba Omojola, I learned a lot about the role the three key leaders played even in the decolonization process in Nigeria. Despite Nigeria was not opportune to have them as the main rallying leadership in the struggle for our independence. So the Guinea, under Nkrumah, Victoria Modibo, paved the way to intensify the agitations for independence, particularly in Nigeria. In official record, this may not be into the picture, but those were actually the forces that inform what also become the kind of independence that Nigeria have. And that's why at independence, you could discover up till now, class struggle is deepening in Nigeria. Because Nigeria, by our analysis, cannot be said to be dependent in the context of what is expected of a liberated African space. So the pace for ideological contestations, the space for class struggle, the space for fighting neo-colonialism derived from that experience. And that was why in the Nigerian political history, you will discover that the Nigerian movement were part of the Casablanca group, which was then the major progressive group that was rallying the entire African countries together, particularly towards the formations of the Organization of African Unity, OAU in 1963. No, there were two groups. You have the Moravian group, and the replay of Moravian group is part of what happens in Angola when US imperialism tried to create a division by sponsoring the reactionary forces of UNITA. And that also informed why Nigeria played a critical role in the liberation of Southern African countries. Many will recall that there was a Nigerian head of state, General Murtala Mohammed, who at the extraordinary OAU summit in Addis Ababa, I think January 11, 1976, made that statement of Africa has come of age. And that was the statement that emphasized the declarations of Africa, the declaration of support for Africa for the MPLA. That's the popular movement for the liberations of Angola. So that Muritala intervention was not without the input, and particularly the prevailing order that was created there then by the left forces that we have in our country. So that's the classical examples of the kind of role that liberated territories or space of movement, and that's when I talk about the space, that there are territory not actually considered as liberated, but in terms of the movement that were playing leading role in those countries, like I cite the examples of Nigeria, you can then discover why some of the radical statement interventions that has come particularly from Nigeria was not without the critical interventions of the left and radical forces in the country. And that's what it's said to be. So when you have an Amilcar Cabral defining itself as a revolutionary movement, is taken from that traditions, is taken from those experiences. And that is why I try to say that some of the strategic consideration we have in discussing this issue might not be something we can do at this forum. The second thing that also needed to be brought to the fore, you see, also has to do with the Congo crisis. Because one of the things that as Pan-Africanists, we must study clearly is to understand the Congo crisis, to understand the role of Nkrumah, to understand what Patrice Lumumba and the Congo fighting forces, what happens at those levels. They are critical because in the struggle to free Africa, we must study all those experiences. And that is also linked when I talk about the Winneba connections. Because that was the ideological and political school and movement from which several cadres of the older generations in Nigeria were beneficiary, for which they have direct relationship with Kwame Nkrumah. So Baba was one of the disciples of Kwame Nkrumah, the late Baba Mojola, and Baba Mojola and Akaba Shorun. They were graduates from the London School of Economics. And when they were leaving London School of Economics, they left for international list assignment. Baba Mojola was in Algeria with Bembelas and others. But those are issues for another day. But the point clearly is to emphasize why in building political parties, there must be party that must be on class line, on ideological line. Because the experience of what happened in Guinea-Bissau is also something that we Africans have to study. So as at the time there was the overthrow of Nkrumah by reactionary and imperialist forces, one of the Lumumbists, who presently is in Nigeria, he was part of the youngest forces at the formation of the Organization of the African Unity that we now call AU today. And I'm talking of General Kasmalot Kasongo, very aged now. If there have been the opportunity, if somebody like that, they will be excited to be part of today's engagement. He was one of the Lumumbists and one of the fighting forces, and was part of the entourage of forces with Ernesto Che Guevara. So the point of the role of the liberated colonies or space, and why we are talking about spaces today, you can talk of very few countries that you can say are liberated, particularly in Africa, in terms of control of territory. But what becomes the challenge of galvanizing revolutionary forces? And that is why I talk about liberated spaces. I think spaces whereby our country, our comrades, Pan-Africanist comrades in the Pan-African world have been able to assert the relevance of their movements. They must contest those spaces politically, ideologically, as liberated territories of our movement, not territories now. Because it is important that the struggle of power, you see, has to be pushed to the fore. When you look today in Africa, where is Nkrumah represented in the politics of Ghana? Where is Cabral represented in the politics of Guinea-Bissau? Where is Secretary represented in the politics of Guinea? What is the status of Congo today? So we can go on and on. Yes, we have Algerians, we have some others that will not have time to go into the details. But it shows the internationalist context of our struggle. It shows the duty that we owe ourselves. And that is why it is important in looking at some of these experiences, which we have to study deeply beyond today's occasion, is also to understand what, in a way, has become like a Cuban model. Because each time we try to talk about solidarity, from our understanding of solidarity, you see, you can't solidarize with any other country, or you can't solidarize with any other country except you deepen your understanding of solidarity. And the way to deepen understanding of solidarity with Cuba, with Venezuela, and few liberated countries is also to struggle to free our countries. The less the spaces that imperialism have control or influences on, the more liberation we are becoming. So that is the point. So it's not to glorify Cuba, to glorify Venezuela, to glorify the few liberated countries. It's for us to take the issue of liberation struggle seriously. Spaces must be contested at every point. We must be in a position to assert the ideas, the experiences, the legacy left by Nkrumah and others. And I think it is important today, particularly when the AAU is being operated also like a colonial instrument. When we went, I think that was the fourth, that should be the fourth African Conference of Solidarity with Cuba. Because we're in Ethiopia for that conference. And one of the most shocking things I took a picture of it and I posted it widely there, was to see, you see inscriptions for France, inscription for Imperialist United States of America, as part of the inscriptions of where you have Togo, Ghana, Nigeria, and others. And the most curious thing is this. Is France, is US, part of the AU. It's sad. If they have not removed it, you can still see it there.
Okay,
because I don't expect that anybody will have gone to European Union and see those kind of inscriptions.
Thank you very much, comrade. And we're going to discuss any other details further in our question and answer period. Once again, let me remind everyone that we want you to write down questions and submit them to our panelists in the Q&A box. Also, we want to also tell you that we had African Liberation Day 2 days ago, where we had two panels on May 23rd, this past Sunday. And the first panel was galvanizing the world socialist parties to help us achieve Pan-Africanism. Also, we had a panel where we had, it was called Galvanizing Women for Pan-Africanism. And if you attended at that previous African Liberation Day program on Sunday, there were a lot of things that were discussed, and they were very important issues. One of those is the necessity to have a women's wing. In the All African People's Revolutionary Party, we have what is called the All African Women's Revolutionary Union. And this is fundamental to any revolutionary party, because we know our women play a vital role in the African Revolution. Our women have been very critical, and they belong on the front line of our struggle. So we will continue with our program. Amandla, Nwetu, Amandla, Nwetu, Isweletu, E Africa, Isweletu, E Africa. Okay, we're going to move on, and we're going to have our next speaker come and talk to us. And our next speaker, his name is Dionisio Doreno Pereira. He's a member of the African Party for the Independence of Guinea-Bissau. Dionisio Doreno Pereira is a Secretary General of the JOC, that is the National Youth Wing of the African Party for the Independence of Cape Verde. He's a member of the PIGC Political Bureau, president of PIGC. He's a member of the PIGC Central Committee. He's also a member of the Register of Militants and Sympathizers of the PIGC. He served as counselor to the Prime Minister for Youth Affairs in the PIGC-led government of 2018 and after the PIGC legislative victory of 2019. He served as Secretary for Youth and Sports in the PIGC-led government from July 2019 until the coup d'etat of February 2020. Okay, my brother, we want to bring you forward to talk to us about the necessity to organize for Pan-Africanism and do your presentation. We thank you and we welcome you. Okay, now while we're waiting for our brother to come and address us, we want to talk a little bit more about the All African People's Revolutionary Party. Our party is a revolutionary Pan-Africanist party, and we want to recruit every African into our party. Kwame Nkrumah founded our party in 1968, and on that occasion, he stated in his book, The Handbook of Revolutionary Warfare, that there needs to be a party of all African political parties in Africa. And he modeled his party after the work that Amilcar Cabral had done in the Portuguese colonies, the former Portuguese colonies. He said that we need an all-African People's Revolutionary Army, an all-African Committee for Political Coordination, along with the All-African People's Revolutionary Party. The AACPC, the All-African Committee for Political Coordination, would serve as a liaison between all those struggling parties in Africa to make one party for the whole of Africa. And this is explained clearly in the Handbook of Revolutionary Warfare, which we consider to be the best roadmap to the total liberation and unification of Africa under scientific socialism. So at this point, we want to go to our next speaker. Is he ready to speak now? If he wants to, and if he's ready, Brother Dionisio Dorino Pereira from the PAIGC, the African Party for the Independence of Cape Verde. Okay, he's not available. We're going to go to our next speaker. Our next speaker is from the Simon Bolivar Institute for Peace and Solidarity Among the Peoples of Venezuela. This speaker, her name is Carmen Navas Reyes, and she's a member of the PSUV, which is the Party of Socialism and Unity in Venezuela. Sister Carmen, she's been involved in the PSUV for many years, and she's going to talk to you about the global solidarity of the Bolivarian Revolution and the Venezuelan people and the solidarity of the South American nation towards struggles for social and economic justice for peoples throughout the world. And this Institute for Peace and Solidarity is dedicated to developing research, training, and promoting critical discussion. So our sister, if she's ready, we would like for you to come forward and speak to us about solidarity with the African Revolution and the Institute for Peace and Solidarity Among the Peoples of Venezuela. Thank you.
Boa tarde, escutam bem? Hello, boa tarde. Eu gostaria de saber se estão me escutando corretamente.
I would like to know if you can hear me correctly.
Yes.
Em nome do Instituto Simão Bolivar, é uma honra para mim estar hoje presente nesta importante data e agradeço principalmente aos membros do Partido Revolucionário do Povo Africano pelo convite. Para mim, diante das perguntas geradoras que vocês tiveram Nós queremos enfatizar e informar para vocês que temos como guia que foi a carta que o presidente, o comandante Hugo Chávez, mandasse para a África, onde ele sinalizou que para o mundo inteiro a África tem sido e seguirá sendo exemplo pelas lutas libertárias do passado, mas também pelo presente que
but also the present that the African struggle must be first. The African struggles are here since many years, a flag in which we follow.
Nós queremos dizer
We want to say
que temos em héroes, heroínas e os mártires das lutas africanas.
we have heroes as examples, role models. For example, Patrice Lumumba.
Melhor, por favor, só minutos. Listo. Me escutam bem agora? Sim. Então, para nós, os heróis e heroínas do povo africano, Thomas Sankara, Patrice Lumumba, Amílcar
For
Cabral,
us, hero people from the African continent, like Amilcar Cabral, yes, and Patrice Lumumba are also heroes in the Venezuelan life. We understand that socialism of the 21st century is something that starts in each country differently and with its particularities. We don't have a single form to talk about 21st century socialism in today. We have a principle that we have been following in Venezuela, that is the solidarity, internationalism, and the struggles with the people. We also understand that the union of the peoples, even though they are distanced, like happened in Africa today, in Venezuela, and in the African continent, in the American continent, it is the unity of the peoples that we defend as examples of solidarity and a possible new world. For us, the unity of our people, we understand that there are conditions for a process of liberation. Those struggles that we are following today in Africa, in the whole world, is our flag, is what we defend mostly and most importantly. We understand that not only the union of the government, like as an action, a Pan-Africanist action in external. We defend the struggle of the people. Those main examples that we have was the construction of AFA, that sadly has been interrupted because of imperialism, but we have faith that this struggle will be renewed and will keep our people, that will still keep this struggle to have success, to succeed in this enterprise, in this struggle. We have examples like Nalva and the struggles of the Venezuelan people. The way that the people have understood international alliances in our people, like it has been understood like the President Chavez has taught us. What we have now, what we understood as the way to advance in this unity and how to fight imperialism and how to fight against colonialism and how to fight the white supremacy and the attempt to fight against our people. In Venezuela, we understand that the popular unity is important, and it's done not only by the government, uh, but also by the popular organization, as we have been calling it.
Garantías, las palabras claves do éxito que pode.
One of the guarantees of the key words of the success we have have to give today as an example, as you have also given to us. I want to introduce here an example of this unity, of this importance of the popular power, by telling you a short history that happened in the country last year. A simple fisherman from simple Chua people from Venezuela, together with the Venezuelan policies, they understood as a guarantee of the popular people and of the military and people. They did an heroic action to fight the last attempt of inflation in our territory. Not only this fight, this struggle against the military struggles, the military actions of our people, but it's also a daily struggle of Venezuelan women that also keep today against the measures, the coercive measures that they try to impose on our people by the United States. We have allies in Europe, but also the satellite governments that we have here in our regions. They try to fight the Bolivarian revolution, but our women, the organized people in the popular struggles, in the committees of supplies and productions in the community, they are giving us an example of a struggle against imperialism. And so in Venezuela, the revolution is going to be irreversible in the right moment, when the popular moment feels identified and feels responsible for the conduction of the revolution. So we also have a party, a governmental party, which is the Partido Unido de Venezuela, and we're trying to make this party to follow the struggles, the popular struggles, and we are trying to make the popular struggles to bring them to the party. And we are trying to make them understand his historical process that Venezuela is living today. And how do we take solidarity in front of everybody? How do we advance solidarity? So we have an important struggle. We have been talking about the problems. We're talking about the problems against of the Israel government against the Palestine people, and we defend the right of the people to defend themselves before the attacks, before the illegal attempts. We are also trying inside the United Nations, asking for respect and asking them to attend our plight. And in those years, we are asking for the Israeli government to respect the right of the Palestine people to exist and keep them in their place in their territories that is historically theirs. And this struggle for solidarity is not only for the Palestine people. We defend the referendum of the people Sahrawi. Yes, we also have this. Also have this role inside Instituto Simon Bolivar, and we are fighting together with the people. We are fighting against the people who fight against the walls. Who fight for the right of migration. We understand that these migratory waves are a result of the hygienist policies, the imposition of violence in our territories, not only in Africa, but also here in our continent. We also advocate for the right of migration, and we also defend that our people have the right to go to a different country to migrate, and we also have the right to have a respectful life in the country they want to be in. And to finish, in Venezuela, we understand peace and solidarity as important elements of our exterior policies of the international policies. But inside the principles of socialism in the 21st century, it's also important for our lives. As you know, we have no doubts that it's important to defend and advocate for the position of these people. We defend the right of Africa for reparation and to fight against slavery. We fight, yes, for the rights of the Haitian people, and we are here, women and men from Venezuela, asking for fighting and advocating for all those rights. I want to say thanks, and I want to finish my participation with a word from President Chavez, which is very present today in this struggle. I'm going to read. Love should continue advocating for and making fraternities between people. The unity among us is vital, and it's worth in its values. It's worth than everything in the world. We grow together, we get together, or we sink. And here, we are available and thanks for your disposition to fight together. And we know we have from you the same position. I'd like to thank the invitation in name of Simon Bolivar Institute in Venezuela. And here we are with Venezuela. We are here, sisters and brothers from Africa. And thanks for very much for everything.
Viva Africa, viva! Viva African Liberation Day, viva! Hasta Victoria siempre! Hasta Victoria siempre! Down with Zionism! Death to Zionism! Gracias, my sister, we thank you so much. When the Europeans invaded Africa, they depopulated Africa and scattered Africans to no less than 130 different nation states. As you can see, this is an African woman in Venezuela. So Africans have been scattered everywhere, all over the world. And we want to thank her for her participation as an African in Venezuela. And what we have to understand is that African people everywhere must be part of the African Revolution. So once again, gracias, my sister. And we will have our next speaker. We're going to go back to our brother who we had a little technical difficulty with, and we apologize for that, but we're going to bring up Comrade Dionisio Doreno Pereira. He's he's actually the Secretary General of what is called JAAC, J-A-A-C, which translates to African Youth of Armored Car Cabral. And he's the president of PIGC and member of the PAIGC Political Bureau. He's also a member of the PIGC Central Committee and a member of the coordination of the Register of Militants and Sympathizers for the PIGC. He also served as counselor to the Prime Minister of Youth Affairs in the PIGC-led government from 2018, and after the PIGC legislative victory of 2019, he served as the State for Youth and Sports in the PIGC-led government from July of 2019.
Esta la representa un breve biografia de Câmara de Eudêcio na língua inglesa. Para explicar como é perdido na ação de Bishop.
Thank you, brother. Please proceed.
Okay. Yeah.
Revolutionary greetings for us on behalf of Shah Milka Cabral, Africa Youth. I want to greet all comrades of the All African People's Revolutionary Party and comrades in other parts of the world. We are celebrating May 25, the 63rd anniversary of African Liberation Day. These celebrations are taking place in a context in which some sister countries like Zimbabwe and Venezuela are under sanctions by imperialists. We are comrades in arms with them during the good times, not so good time, and the hard times. There are also those who are suffering from other types of sanctions, such as a coup d'etat organized by the neoliberalists, which is our case here in Guinea-Bissau. The PIGC won the election that was prevented from governing through a coup d'etat organized by puppets of imperialism and neoliberalism. All of these acts must be repudiated and condemned by all of us at every moment. We also want to address our solidarity with the brothers and sisters of the Polisario Front and Palestine, who also suffer other types of sanctions, such as classical colonialism and Zionist occupation. I want to remind everyone that imperialism and neoliberalism are our common enemies, global enemies, which we must combat with greater coordination between countries and organization of women, youth, and workers. This coordination must be based on the ideological strength, cultural development, and organization of our society. For this reason, the theme of this year is very relevant. Forward ever to worldwide Pan-Africanism unity. Long ago, Kwame Nkrumah, Amilcar Cabral, and other honest, courageous revolutionaries draw attention to the need for greater coordination and unity in African countries as a basic condition for the success of our struggle. And Amilcar Cabral also really on diagnosing the problem of the deficiency and indeed absence of ideology and many liberation movement in Africa, and say that if this issue were not resolved, Africa will have very serious problems in its struggle. Africa is rich, but African people continue to suffer from lack of resources for education, housing, food. Since the beginning of our struggle, young people have been the catalyst and still are. Let's look at most of this struggle in the world. They have an strong participant of the youth. The same happening in Guinea-Bissau. We young people were the founders of the PIDC Party. The organizing workers, peasants, lead the struggling with revolutionary intelligence. They collectively use the instrument of liberation, weapons, managing to lay the foundation of revolutionary states, training technicians and sending political organizations and organizers to lead newly created societies. Although attacking and fighting in the bush against the enemy, the PIDC youth participated in Pan-African Conference where the Pan-Africanist youth organizing was created in Conakry, Revolutionary Republic of Guinea. There was participation in several organizations of coordination, such as the Conference of Nationalism Organization of the Portuguese Colony, CANCEP, Organization of Solidarity of the People of Africa, Asia, and Latin America, OSPA. This shows that we need a mass revolutionary Pan-Africanist pact to improve the level of coordination. In our humble opinion, the comrades who are in this formation called the All-African People's Revolutionary Pact are only a vanguard. Those of us, Guinea-Bissau in other countries, on the front line are the ones who must establish the mass pact. The PIDC, Jacques, and Udemu have been part of this sacred struggle. Amilcar Cabral working with Ahmed Sékou Touré and others revolutionaries like Kwame Nkrumah and others historic tests. We managed to involve revolutionary parts that help mass, such as PDC, Frelimo, MPLA, with their youth organizations, women and workers, in coordination with the socialist and communist parties in Latin America and Asia. How many serious militants are there in the communist part of Cuba? Hundreds of thousands. How many serious militants are there in the PSUV? Hundreds of thousands. And they take ownership of the revolution. They defend it. We must continue to organize honestly and be putting those most dedicated to the people and the party program in the best position. Right now, we in charge are revolution of the PSA party, establishing grassroots structure throughout Guinea-Bissau and the diaspora, struggling to consolidate those bases already implanted, institutionalizing systematic political, ideological, and training, establishing our friendly relation with allies and brother sister youth organization of MPLA, PSCB, Frelimo, MLSTB, PSCB, and we are ready to move forward in establishing working relation with the UJC of the Communist Party of Cuba and PSUV youth in Venezuela. And then I pause it here for interaction and any question, any doubts, any criticisms. We want to hear from you guys, all Conrad here. Thank you very much.
Aluta Continua. Aluta Continua. We want to thank our brother.
Viva Pan-Africanism.
Viva Pan-Africanism.
Viva Dia Libertad Africano. Viva Revolution.
Yes, thank you very much. Thank you so much, our brother from the PAIGC, the Party of Amilcar Cabral. We want to thank you. And, you know, Africans have been scattered all over the world, as I said previously. But in the process of building Pan-Africanism, and liberating African people in the diaspora, we know that Africans throughout the world cannot be free unless Africa is free. Therefore, Africa is the core of the African Revolution. But these Africans who are scattered are going to play such a critical role in our struggle for the total liberation and unification of Africa. So now we want to move on in our program, and we want to go to an organization called the Party for Democracy in Guinea, the PDG, which was founded and organized and led by Ahmed Sekou Touré, that great revolutionary Pan-Africanist, who along with Kwame Nkrumah and Modibo Keita formed what was called the Union of African States, the Ghana, Guinea, Mali Union in 1959. And so we want to bring this, we're going to show a video presentation of a speaker from the PDG. Now, as I talked earlier, I talked about how Africa has produced many institutions in our struggle against European capitalism and imperialism. Ahmed Sekou Touré says that everything we produce is part of our culture. In fact, Sekou Touré says and reminds us that revolution is in fact an act of culture. So we in the All African People's Revolutionary Party, we have an ideology, and it's called Nkrumahism Touréism. It's based on the teachings and the writings and speeches of who we consider to be the leading revolutionary Pan-Africanists, Kwame Nkrumah and Sekou Touré. So now at this point, we want to bring on and show this video presentation of a statement from the Party for Democracy in Guinea, the PDG.
Bonjour chers camarades, je suis honorable Oye Bervoudi, député à l'Assemblée nationale de la République guinéenne,
member of the Assembly of the Republic of Guinea, rapporteur of the Republican Assembly Parliamentary Group, member of the Commission for Foreign Affairs and Guineas Abroad, and equally acting Secretary General of the PDG-RDA, the Democratic Party of Guinea of the Democratic African Assembly. Established by Ahmed Sekou Touré. On behalf of the Democratic Party, years indeed, more or less weeks that has been dedicated to the African Union today, 25th May 2021. Internationally,
Et aujourd'hui, nous sommes très heureux de participer à cette conférence internationale qui a été
particularly
par les collègues du Parti révolutionnaire des peuples africains, lesquels nous saluons
the African People's Party, and with the help of all the comrades, we have been able to establish equality. Today, it is an important day. It is a day that unites us all, Africans. Why today? Ever since the renaissance of the Pan-Africanism, why insist on the power of the political parties of Pan-Africanism? It is a topic
l'idéal fondamental de ces idéaux fondamentaux. Ces idéaux ne se rendent que celles et en ce sens, il s'agit effectivement de la concrétisation d'un État.
This assistance of indeed
responsables de la révolution avec beaucoup d'autres compagnons durant toute leur vie ont œuvré dans ce sens-là. PDG étant créé en 1947, nous voyons notre indépendance le 2 juillet 1958 et aujourd'hui, donc 74 ans, durant
Today, in this occasion, and across all of these years that I have been able to assist in the ALD, in this occasion, I have been able to, across the sensibilization of the ALD's movement that calls for the liberation of Africa has always been and has been a part of our message in the PDGRDA. As we try to deliver our message in and call for African unity and Pan-African unity across the world and across all countries. All Pan-African parties must be a part of this message. In Guinea, for example, through its combat and fight for liberation, have been able to deliver and hold Guinea, Angola, and Nigeria, and many other countries. The war for independence, in this sense, has indeed been the end goal through the Guinea-Bissau's parties today. Everything that we have been able to do, and indeed, it is possible for me to say that the theme for today is quite adequate, since today's parties at one point can all benefit from what the PDGRDA has to offer. And indeed, the PDGRDA has to establish a political relation with every other party included in order to increase the results and push forward our fight and our combat. Indeed, we must call for
une bonne occasion pour encore fédérer les leaders du tiers-monde, pour encore fédérer les États du tiers-monde. Je crois que ce serait une bonne chose. Et donc, ces pays aujourd'hui sont affaires, le PDG, point de vue diplomatique, point de vue
diplomacy today
continuons de maintenir des rapports avec ces États, à les inciter, d'amener pour qu'ils puissent évoluer dans ce sens-là. Et très récemment, nous avons
relation with other countries
une délégation de l'URDA
must push and call for the solidarity and the negotiations in addition to the Pan-African revolution. The Pan-African solidarity has always been a pivotal point in our message. Notably, all parties, all nationalist parties,
pour que d'abord les partis effectivement qui sont au pouvoir, les pousser, les amener à réfléchir panafricanisme, les amener, les pousser à penser panafricanisme, pour qu'ensemble nous combattons encore ça plus.
All parties or included parties have always pushed forward and called for the Pan-Africanist message across the world, and today this dynamic has helped put many in this situation. Like the PDGRDA,
et nous attendons continuer cette allure, nous attendons continuer dans cette position pour que davantage la représentation du parti au niveau local, au niveau national soit renforcée et au-delà des échéances électorales, notamment les élections législatives, les élections communales, pour que le parti puisse davantage mobiliser les masses populaires pour qu'enfin que le PDG puisse avoir
they could have more advantages.
Et de ce point de vue, nous continuons donc à nous battre. Et en ce sens,
regarding this point of view,
de préciser par rapport au thème de ce jour, c'est que
we know that we have to precise more.
La question de souveraineté monétaire, la question de force d'armée,
talking about sovereignty,
sont encore d'actualité. Et bien entendu, tout cela, le combat combattu par les leaders président Sékou Touré, président Kwame Nkrumah, président
by the big leaders,
Gamal Abdel Nasser, et beaucoup d'autres qui étaient épris de justice, de liberté.
Kemal Abdel Nasser, like Kemal Abdel Nasser.
À l'époque, qui avait une telle conviction, qui avait une telle détermination
Those
pour la
leaders
concrétisation des États fédéraux, ont pu effectivement agir dans ce sens-là. Donc nous autres qui sommes jeunes aujourd'hui, qui n'avons pas connu ces grands leaders tiers-morts, qui n'avons pas connu
take action
ces grands défenseurs de la liberté, qui n'ont pas connu ces grands défenseurs de la
so we
liberté
can
de l'homme noir,
apply
de l'homme africain.
sovereignty and
Aujourd'hui,
have
nous sommes
liberation
très heureux de continuer le combat. Et en ce sens, nous voulons effectivement faire en
and
sorte
to
que
continue our struggle.
cet élan soit maintenu. Et donc, à travers ce forum, nous disons,
So through this forum,
toute notre solidarité militante à tous les camarades de la révolution,
we are given all our solidarity, all our cooperation for all
déterminés à faire triompher cette révolution.
for all those who struggle to achieve the revolution.
Et bien entendu, nous continuons à entretenir les rapports avec les partis politiques qui sont au pouvoir,
Concerning
les
our
amener, les
contacts,
pousser à agir
we
dans le sens
are having
parce que simplement c'est la voie
many
du salut,
relations
c'est la
with
seule voie
them
qu'il faut.
in order to
Nous
achieve
avons
Pan-Africanism,
pour que l'homme noir, l'homme africain,
for a better Africa.
BDGRDA encore profite de cette conférence pour rendre un hommage
So
à tous les
the
hommes,
African man can have
tous les combattants de la liberté,
his
tous les
rights,
combattants de la liberté,
live a decent life,
pour qu'ensemble nous mobilisons
for all
et
those
que
who
l'homme noir
struggle
ait
to liberate our continent,
et qu'il puisse avoir effectivement sa place dans ce monde que nous subissons avec
for
beaucoup
the
d'injustice
African man to have a decent life, to have this place in the society.
liées à toutes ces agressions multiformes. Et puisque
This is
c'est
the
l'occasion,
aim
il faut
of
en
this
parler,
forum.
et profitons également de cette occasion de transmettre toute notre solidarité.
I had the opportunity to talk about it
L'injustice internationale qui subit cette occupation illégale.
and follow
Nous condamnons
the
fermement cela,
international
toute notre
rules.
solidarité au peuple palestinien. La Palestine a vécu, la Palestine est en train de subir, et pour tous ces hommes qui sont épris de justice et de liberté,
And the Palestinian question,
encore une fois, nous souhaitons
Palestinian brothers are struggling and achieving peace in their territory.
Nous restons toujours prêts pour la révolution.
We are always ready for revolution.
Prêt pour la révolution. Prêt pour la révolution. That means ready for revolution. Viva African Liberation Day, viva! Viva African Liberation Day, viva! Viva PDGRDA! Viva PAIGC! Viva PSUV! Africa will be free. Africa must unite. We're going to win this battle against our enemies, without a doubt, despite ourselves, as Kwame Ture used to say. And now we're going to have the question and answer period. But before we do that, this person who just spoke on the video, he's the acting Secretary General of the PDGRDA. He's a member of the Assembly of the Republic of Guinea. And he's the rapporteur of the Republican Assembly Parliamentary Group and a member of the Commission of Foreign Affairs and Guineans Abroad. So these people who are speaking are part of the leadership of these mass-based parties. Now, we want you to submit your questions to us on the Zoom chat line, and we're going to engage in question and answers of all the panelists. But let me remind you that the PDGRDA won't be able to answer questions, as that was a video. But we have available, once again, Brother Abiodun from the Amilcar Cabral Institute School/Movement. We also have our sister from the Simon Bolivar Institute for Peace and Solidarity Among the Peoples. And I believe we also have Dionisio Dorino Pereira of the PAIGC. So We're going to start our question and answer period at this point. And I'm looking for any questions from attendees. And I don't see any at this point. So.
There is one question, Brother Zizwe.
Yes.
The first question someone asked, what is the status of the PDG after Sekou Touré?
Thank you very much, brother. What is the status of the PDG after Sekou Touré? And I assume that's the question is being addressed to the brother who's the Secretary General.
Correct.
And I don't think we have him online at this point because that was a video. Maybe our brother Imani can address that question, or if anybody else wants to address it on the panel, be my guest and answer the question that was raised. Okay. If no one wants to answer the question, we might save that question for later until we can get somebody to answer it. And let's go to the next question. And this is to all the panelists. Is there a liberated territory in Africa? Is there a liberated territory in Africa?
Answer.
I'm not answering this.
Okay.
Anybody want to answer that question?
Yes, comrade. We think that there are liberated territories in Africa, but all of them, in one way or another, have been very seriously weakened by imperialism and neocolonialism. We view Mozambique, Angola, Namibia, Eritrea as liberated territories, as well as Zimbabwe. But when we look at our liberated territories, with the exception of Eritrea, we find AFRICOM in every country in Africa, including those territories that are supposed to be liberated. And we find inside of each territory different contradictions and problems that are the result of imperialist meddling, such as the sanctions in Zimbabwe. Sanctions have been on other nation states, embargoes, imbalanced trade agreements that they've been forced into, as well as pressures from the IMF and the World Bank. So our liberated territories are in jeopardy and are actually under assault by the forces of imperialism. In Eritrea, we see a continued effort to pull them into armed conflicts with their neighbors just to survive. So we do have these territories, and our people have claimed control of these lands, but the enemy is relentless, and all of them are under threat all of the time. Thank you.
Thank you very much, my brother. Okay, we have a question from our comrade, Sister Maxine. She says, please identify the revolutionary organizations in government in Africa in 2021. Please identify the revolutionary organizations in government in Africa in 2021. Any of the panelists want to answer that question? Please speak. We're waiting. No one wants to attempt to answer that one. Let me see. Do we still have Brother Abiodun present? and our other comrades from the panel present? Okay. Comrades, brothers and sisters, any members of our party want to attempt to answer that question?
This is Comrade Rafiki. I can only repeat what we just said. You know, we know the MPLA and the PAIGC, ZANU, PF, SWAPO, FRELIMO, and a party for democracy and justice in Eritrea. All of these are revolutionary parties, but as I said earlier, all of our revolutionary parties are under enormous pressure, and imperialism is trying to roll back the gains of the revolution. And if we look inside of these countries, we see the fierce struggle between the forces of the revolution and the forces of reaction. We still claim them as our liberated territories, but we understand that they are under threat, just like all of Africa is under threat from imperialism, particularly in its form of neocolonialism.
Thank you, my brother. Based on what you just stated about the political parties in Africa, I want to ask a question. So what would be the solution to the problem of African political parties that are under such great pressure, and African governments that are under great question and great pressure? And can anybody answer this problem and go into detail as to what we need to do?
Be back.
Okay. I will try to answer that question that I just raised myself, if it's okay with all our participants. The conditions that are present in Africa, with what Brother Rafiki just stated, clearly indicate that Africa has to be unified and organized. Kwame Nkrumah talked about this as far back as in 1962. He stated equivocally that if we don't unify now, the imperialists will pick us off one by one. And that was before the formation of the Organization of African Unity. Unfortunately, some of the internal enemy sabotaged the effort that Kwame Nkrumah and others tried to put together to bring about one central government, one United States of Africa. So now, here we are more than 50 years later, maybe about 60 years. We got this problem that is even worse than it was back when Nkrumah made that statement. So it's very urgent that we unify the revolutionary political parties to continue to proceed with the total liberation and unification of Africa under scientific socialism. Now, what this means is that we're going to have to put all our energies together to organize the masses of our people on the ground. Kwame Nkrumah realized that a mistake he made was an attempt to organize from the top with the leadership of the independent parties, the mass political parties who led the countries, the nation states of Africa, to independence. So this is why he wrote Handbook of Revolutionary Warfare. Neocolonialism, the last stage of imperialism. Class struggle in Africa, to give us the roadmap and as to how we can get the masses organized and build the power and strength to build a United States of Africa with mass participation of the people on the ground. And so this is even more evident today than it was when he made that statement and when he wrote those books in the 1960s. So we're calling for the building of the All-African Committee for Political Coordination. which is supposed to be a liaison between the revolutionary Pan-African political parties in Africa. Are there any more questions? Okay, we have a question. I was born in the Nile Valley, so I have an intimate understanding of Africa. But my question is, why can't we unite Africa with no European help? Do we have any panelists who want to answer that question? Is there someone? Okay, we seem to be having technical difficulties. Okay, we're having a little difficulty if someone is trying to answer that question. Is there anyone else who wants to attempt to answer the question? Once again, the question is, please explain why we cannot organize Africa without help, with no European help. Okay, can we move on and okay, somebody's trying to talk and it's kind of is not coming in clear. Is there any way we can fix that? We have another question. How can joining an organization help African people? How can joining an organization situated in Africa and outside of Africa help our people achieve the objective of Pan-Africanism, the total unification and liberation of Africa under scientific socialism? Is there any panelists who want to address that question? Are there any other party members who want to address that question?
Greetings, Comrade Zizwe. Sister Mjiba here, Ghana chapter.
Thank you so much.
How you doing, African?
Oh, fine. I'm ready for revolution.
Ready for revolution, African. I thought I would jump in on this one if you give me 35 seconds.
Go ahead, my sister.
Thank you so much. So first of all, I think that I wanted to tackle two of the questions. The first question I would love to tackle is a question about how can we unify Africa without the help of Europeans? And I think the first thing is we must recognize that we're not going to achieve Pan-Africanism with the assistance of the West. Africa must have agency in promoting, in pushing for, in struggling for Pan-African unity. So for the brother who has lived on the Nile his entire life and is really trying to figure out how we unify Africa without the help of the West, and I would suggest the West, not necessarily Europeans, I think we have to look to our culture. I think we have to look to our history. I think we have to look to the works of Kwame Nkrumah in the Handbook of Revolutionary Warfare. I think we have to look to the works of Sekou Touré in Revolution, Culture, and Pan-Africanism. I think we have to look at the material that our ancestors provided from us. And then we also have to look at the contemporary conditions and say that there's many things that we can do that today that can promote Pan-Africanism. For example, we can join an organization that is fighting for the total liberation and unification of Africa under scientific socialism. We can join an organization which is pushing back against neo-colonialism. We can also begin to push African governments to take things such as food sovereignty seriously. We can push African governments to begin to reject IMF and World Bank loans. But more importantly, we can organize the people on the ground so that there's a Pan-African groundswell, right? That will span across the African continent and global Africa, so that the moment in which we are ready to make that revolutionary change, the people have ideological clarity, and that ideological clarity can push us through to the Pan-African movement. Thank you, African. Ready for revolution.
Thank you so much, sister. Thank you. Viva African Liberation Day. Viva! Viva African Liberation Day. Viva!
Viva African Liberation Day. Viva!
All right. We still have a couple more questions. There's a question about somebody had a specific question for our sister in Venezuela. And that question is, let me get this question. Can the Venezuela sister give more on the upcoming bicentennial conference in June around the workers? Is our sister Carmen still online? If she can answer that question, we would greatly appreciate it. Okay, so now she's not responding. We'll go to the next question, and if she gets online again, she can answer that question if she just lets us know when she's ready to speak. There's another question that's being raised from Gabe S. Can any of you give a Pan-Africanist analysis on the Tigray crisis in Ethiopia/Eritrea? Is there any panelists who want to answer that question? If not, are there any party members who want to answer that question? We're very quiet today. We're very quiet. I don't understand why. Do we have any of our panelists available?
Repeat the question.
The question is, can any of you give a Pan-Africanist analysis on the Tigray crisis in Ethiopia/Eritrea? If anybody knows what's going on in that part of Africa, there's been some violence against some of the people of Tigray in Ethiopia and in Eritrea. And there's been an attempt to divide Ethiopia and Eritrea after there was an agreement to come together a couple of years ago. And so we want someone to answer that question, if they can, from a Pan-Africanist point of view. Go ahead, my sister Tandiwe.
Warmest revolutionary greetings. Viva African Liberation Day. Viva!
Viva!
Israelitu. Yafuna.
Comrade Dionisi wants to respond to the question about the popularity of Pan-Africanism.
Okay. Can he wait until Sister Tandiwe addresses the question of the Eritrea-Ethiopia conflict?
Yes, greetings, Brother Zizwe, brothers and sisters. My name is Sister Tandiwe. I'm an organizer for the AEPRP in the Canada chapter. The issue of the divisiveness in Ethiopia between Tigrayan brothers and sisters and other so-called ethnic groups in Ethiopia is a hallmark of neocolonialism, which seeks to divide our people into factions and to foment and intensify infighting. So the issue in Ethiopia is an ideological issue in that our people have been miseducated by capitalism, imperialism, Zionism, and other allies of the West to see each other as enemies. When in fact, within our party, we understand that all African people are Africans. And as Nkrumah says, Kwame Nkrumah says, are Africans and belong to the African nation. So whether we are Tigrayan, Ethiopian, Somalian, whatever micronationality we identify with, in fact, we are all part of one Pan-African family. So the conflict in places like Ethiopia and indeed nationalist conflicts in other parts of Africa is really an ideological question, right? Where imperialism has used its propaganda to divide our people and have them fighting against each other. So what is the solution? The solution is mass political education. Our people need to study our history. Our people need to study our culture to see the commonalities of our struggle and that we are one people, irrespective of what languages we speak. We speak hundreds of languages all over Africa, irrespective of where we were born. Even the divisions in Africa were imposed by the imperialists in 1884 during the Berlin Conference, where the imperialists in Germany, England, and other parts of the world carved up Africa into spheres of influence. So the problem in Ethiopia with our Tigrayan brothers and sisters and our Ethiopian brothers and sisters is an ideological issue. Our people have been indoctrinated to see each other as enemies. And so the solution is also an ideological solution within the context of a mass revolutionary party. This is why the APRP relentlessly calls on our people to join an organization. So we need mass political education in Ethiopia, and we need ideological training. And in addition to that, we need the revolutionary practice. We can't just have the ideological understanding and not utilize it for the liberation of our people. So the conflict in Ethiopia, as in other parts of Africa, is an ideological problem. And the solution is to politically educate the masses of our people about our identity, about our culture, and about the solution, which is Pan-Africanism, the total liberation and unification of Africa under a just collective system, which we call scientific socialism. Forward ever!
Backward never!
Forward ever!
Backward never!
All right, ready for
Thank you. Thank you so much. That was a very well-stated answer. And we have another person who wanted to answer that question. I don't know if they are online, but a question about the conflict in Ethiopia and Eritrea. And if this person is not online, then we're going to ask Brother Imani to put Brother Dionisio on so he can answer the question. And I believe it was the question about how popular is Pan-Africanism and the ideas of those revolutionaries in those countries like Nkrumah. So go ahead, Imani.
Okay. Dionisio.
Hello, it's me, Dionisio. If I understand the question, first of all, I would like to say that the most influential African leaders, like Kwame Nkrumah, Amilcar Cabral, and Sekou Touré, they are from these countries. They are from Ghana, Kenya, and Guinea-Bissau. And then, if you want to talk about this country, you must talk about these leaders and their history, and they are revolutionary leaders. And particularly in Guinea-Bissau, the major party in Bissau is the revolutionary party. It's like everywhere you go in Guinea-Bissau, people used to greet each other like ready for revolution. It's like if you talk about the revolution here, everybody understands what you are saying. That's why I think here until now, in Guinea-Bissau particularly, the revolution is the word or the expression that everybody understands. Everybody understands, and they used to talk about, and they used to think about also. Thank you.
Thank you, brother. Viva African Liberation Day. Viva! Okay, everybody. I've been informed that we have some people in Ethiopia and Tanzania who want to get on and answer some of the questions. And unfortunately, we have not been able to hook them up to get online and speak. They're going to try to get on, and if someone notifies me on our tech team that they're able to speak, we will let them speak and answer the question. In the meantime, we are in our next part of this program. We're going to have some cultural artists do a performance for us. And if we cannot get those people on from Ethiopia and Tanzania, please write your answer in the chat room and send it out to everybody who's participating. Because if we cannot hear you speak, at least we can see what your answer is in written form. Okay, so now at this point, can we do our cultural entertainment? We also call it edutainment here in the United States. Thank you.
Well, you got that right, Baba, comrade. It is edutainment. And just as the presenters, and so as the cultural portion of our program, it's educational, it's insightful, and as a cultural presenter and culture ambassador, a member of AAPRP and AAWRU, I'm so happy that we can find that there's so many cultural presenters out there that plant seeds upon the mind of the people to not just think locally, but to think globally. So I am so happy to present to you performance artists for this singer, this dramatist, this educator, and this activist, Ayana Gregory. Music and art are more than entertainment. They are her mission. And with penetrating depth, Ayana's music is making audiences feel and to heal. In a time so needy of real responsible art, Ayana is bringing to the world a most beautiful and meaningful gift of the human spirit. And I'm so happy to present her. And now I give you one of the daughters of the struggle, Ayana Gregory.
No more living small, no more giving just a little. No more being shy, no more staying in the middle. We're about to take flight, so you better hold on. Flying through the night, put your night vision on. With the eye of the eagle, the heart of a lion, the wings of an angel to keep me flying. Light as a feather, cause a smile every day. The love in my heart, I give it away. Places we will go, things that we will see. Heaven only knows all that we will be. See the magic that you have. If you only knew who you really are, the things that you could do. Hey, star people, when you're gonna shine like the light you are. Hey, star people, they can't hold you back cause you come too far. Hey, star people, the planets in the galaxy are calling you. Hey, star people, it's time for you to do what you came to do. Oh, check it out. No more living small, no more giving just a little. No more being shy, no more staying in the middle. We're about to take flight, so you better hold on. Flying through the night, put your night vision on. With the eye of an eagle, the heart of a lion, the wings of an angel that keep me flying. Light as a feather, cause I smile every day. The love in my heart, I give it away. Places we will go, things that we will see. Heaven only knows all that we will be. See the magic that you have. If you only knew who you really are, the things that you could do. Hey, star people, when you're gonna shine like the light you are. Hey, star people, come too far. Hey, star people, the planets in the galaxy are calling you. Hey, star people, it's time for you to do what you came to do. Time for you to do what you came to do. It's time for you to do what you came to do. It's time for us to do what we came to do. It's a critical time now, time to remember and recall who we are and become who we was born to be. Yeah, baby, it's a critical time now. So plant pure seeds and watch yourself transform back into yourself. See, there you will enter a world where the phoenix flies, warriors rise, and beautiful flowers bloom. We are the ones that we've been waiting for. I said we are the ones that we have been waiting for. You dig? Tell them about it, Daddy.
Such a shining star in our lives. I'm having a distro.
Ready for revolution. Israel 2, Africa. Africa, Israel 2.
Thank you.
Africa.
All right.
Yeah. Comrade, I think I can try to do some intervention now, particularly in the directions of the questions. First, on the crisis in Ethiopia, second, on the questions of organizations, question of how joining organizations advance the cause of Pan-Africanism. And I think there was also another question.
You have to be very brief, my comrade. You have to be very brief because we're running out of time.
The singular questions I just want to have, the singular response I just want to make, is that it actually has to do with the challenge of organization. What it then means is that we have to do more of organizing just beyond annual celebrations of the African Liberation Day. There are much more organizing that we have to do on mass political education. We're in a political struggle. And in the context of political struggles, there are daily realities that the young ones must confront. And that is why education is critical. And education now in terms of political education, ideological education, because the youth must be able to organize across the board, across the divide, on the questions of challenging, you see, imperialist opposition. They are real. It's not just about shouting imperialism. The concrete realities are reflected in lack of access to education, lack of access to healthcare, lack of access to decent living. So they are reflected at all levels. So, and the point about the struggle should essentially be on the basis of class struggle. The young ones must understand that there's a class line to the issues that are on. So that daily struggle in every nation state must be waged in acquiring, because you are going to acquire those educations also through that struggle. So it's a political struggle, and it's a political struggle that must be expressed in all forms of engagement. Because the only way to resist imperialism, you can't be running NGO, you are funded by the West, and you want to struggle. You see, at that level. So the context of struggle is that the young one must be prepared to engage at that level, whether at the student level, at the gender level, at every level. The struggle is political. And that's the most essential point. Because only when you wage struggles at that level, that this old ethnic thing that have reverberated right from the crisis in Congo, you see, whatever you have in Tigray, you have in Sudan, even in Nigeria here. So there must be alternative to every of those neoliberal policies. There must be people alternative, Pan-Africanist alternative, working class alternative. That is the issue. It should not be acceptable, because when you have what are they doing? Consolidating what democracy? Democracy in the context of the neo-colonial puppet that are variously in the other African countries. So you must challenge that neo-colonial order. And that's the essential point. So youth must join organizations, because joining organization is key to everything that has to be done. So thank you.
Thank you very much, comrade. We appreciate your answer, and we believe you're absolutely correct in your answer. We appreciate you, and we appreciate everybody who's participating and our comrades who are organizing our people throughout the world for the total liberation and unification of Africa under scientific socialism. Once again, we want to ask people who are not able to get online and state an answer, please write your answer down and submit it so everybody can see your answer. Okay. At this point, we're going to go into our next part of our program. We're already running behind time quite a bit. And we're going to have a series of solidarity statements from different organizations who support us in our quest for Pan-Africanism. Iswele E Africa. Viva African Liberation Day.
Viva.
Thank you, Sister Tandiwe, for responding. Viva African Liberation Day.
Viva. Viva.
Yes. Thank you, comrades. So next we're going to have a solidarity statement from Peter Urban of the Irish Republican Socialist Network. Come forward, brother, and give us your solidarity statement.
Akirida, comrades, sisters and brothers. For 38 years, it has been my honor and pleasure to convey the greetings of solidarity from the Irish Republican Socialist Movement to the celebrants of African Liberation Day and the comrades of the All-African People's Revolutionary Party around the world. The legacy of colonialism, slavery, imperialism, and neocolonialism has resulted in an African diaspora that spans the globe. These same forces have created an Irish diaspora that also circles the world. The shared experience of oppression and diaspora makes the theme of this year's African Liberation Day resonate all the more with the Irish people. The Irish can relate to the experience of Africans throughout the globe, whether it be on the African continent, in the Caribbean, in the Americas, Europe, Asia, fighting for social justice for themselves, and moreover, fighting for the liberation of Africa and the creation of a united socialist Africa. Africans, wherever you are, know that when you rise and struggle for liberation, you will have the solidarity of Irish Republican Socialists. We can wait no longer. We must end imperialism around the globe. Both Africa and Ireland must be united, socialist, and free. And as we move forward towards liberation, the Irish Republican Socialist Movement once again reiterates our sincere and profound solidarity with all of the African people in struggle around the globe, and wish only the best to all of our African comrades for this African Liberation Day 2021. And given the crisis at present in Palestine, I'd like to conclude by joining Irish and African voices in saying, from the river to the sea, Palestine must be free, and the Zionist terror must end. Thank you, comrades.
Palestine must be free. From the river to the sea.
From the river to the sea.
Palestine must be free.
Free. Palestine must be free.
From the river to the sea.
From the river to the sea.
Palestine must be free.
Palestine must be free.
Long live the Irish Revolution.
Long live the Irish Revolution.
Viva Irish Revolution.
Viva Irish Revolution.
Yes, if you saw the video, you see this comrade is pledging support for the liberation of Palestine as well as Africa. Because as revolutionary Pan-Africanists, we know that our struggle is international. And as Malcolm X said, power is international. And so we, as revolutionary Pan-Africanists, we are also internationalists, and we support the just struggles of people all over the world, such as in Ireland, in Palestine, Venezuela, Bolivia, Cuba, etc. Our next solidarity statement is going to come from the speaker from ICAP. And before we have this speaker from Cuba ICAP, ICAP is a social organization founded on December 30th, 1960, for the purpose of explaining to the peoples of the world the relations of solidarity that sparked the Cuban Revolution. ICAP is the vehicle to reach around the globe to people who are in solidarity with Cuba. ICAP is that interface that strengthens the network of solidarity while representing the Cuban people and delivering a strong message that solidarity not only benefits Cuba, but peoples of the world who are aspiring to promote the idea that a better world is possible for all. In addition to that, when Africa called, Cuba answered. When Africa called, Cuba answered. Cuba sent troops to liberate Southern Africa when Angola became independent in 1975. As a matter of fact, Cuba had been sending support and troops since 1961, when the government of Patrice Lumumba was overthrown. We know Che Guevara went to the Congo to fight with the revolutionary forces in the Congo. So we have a great debt to the people of Cuba in their support for Pan-Africanism. So now we would like to bring on a statement of solidarity from the speaker from ICAP, and his name is Brother Fernando Gonzalez. Please come forward, brother.
Comrade Haiti is next.
Okay, so we can't do the brother from Cuba now?
No, we have Haiti and PAICV on tap.
Okay. Please forgive us, participants. We're going to move on and have a presentation from a comrade from Haiti. Let's see. Brother Rafiki, can you explain the bio for the brother from Haiti for me, please? Brother Rafiki?
As part of the Pan-African vision of the Haitian people, the history of the struggle in Haiti, again, with the 21 nations, the 21 our people who came from various groups of people, the Hausas, the Mandingos, the Igbos, the Congos, and so many others, 21 altogether, came and federated, and this is what Haiti today is, Pan-African Federation. And so one of the things that struck me, and that's why with the latest research, it's so important, because Brother Dessalines, in the Proclamation of Independence, he mentioned about the French armies that were, it wasn't the French armies that defeated, that won some of the battles, but it was the confusion that they created in our minds. And I was very much pleased the other day to hear about Brother Toussaint Louverture and also his generals, Dessalines and Christophe, who had in mind to attack the slave trade, but to fight against it on the African continent itself. I'd never heard that before, and when I came across that recently, and it blew my mind, because that takes me to Cuba, the great role that Cuba played in terms of international solidarity in 1975 in the struggle in Southern Africa. But back then, Toussaint Louverture, Dessalines, let's keep in mind that 2/3 of our foremothers and forefathers who took part in the Haitian Revolution, who were enslaved in Saint-Domingue, and that was the name of the colony, they had been born in Africa. 2/3 of them. And they were the ones who came together and overthrew and broke their chains and overthrew the system and declared and founded Haiti, calling the land Haiti, and saying that, and declared independence. But they had in mind to have an army and to go to fight against the slave trade on the continent of Africa. So I'm looking at this, and I'm looking at Cuba, the role that Cuba played, you know, and I'm thinking, and when we see what our foremothers and forefathers also played that role in going to Venezuela, when Simon Bolivar came to Haiti, many of them volunteered and went with him to fight against Spanish colonialism, not just Spanish colonialism, not just the word colonialism, but to abolish slavery. Everywhere they would be successful. That was the bottom line. The abolition of slavery, the abolition of the slave trade, and the system of colonialism. So that needs to be explored further. This is to me an inspiring example of the solidarity that our foremothers and forefathers had, that they practiced, that they put into practice, that they implemented. And today, as we face the challenges, their examples, their principles calls to us to rise up and to do the same. And that's what ALD, African Liberation Day, means to me concretely. Our foremothers and forefathers, their work, their vision that they have passed on to us, which is manifested in the streets of Haiti today. We see that in Senegal, in Nigeria, in so many other countries, but also right here in the Bay Area, in Oakland, in Minneapolis, in so many places, in Georgia, whatever form it takes. This is the spirit of revolution. This is the fire that Bob Marley talked about.
All right, ready for revolution. Thank you, brother. That was a very excellent presentation of a representative from Haiti and the Haitian Revolution. Now we're going to have a statement from the Party for the Independence, the African Party for the Independence of Cape Verde. Viva Revolution! Viva African Liberation Day! Viva! Come forward, my brother. Okay, let me give you a brief bio. The speaker from the PICV is okay, forgive me, please. Our speaker from the PICV, is he ready? His name is Fidel Carlos Cardoso de Pena. If he's not ready, can we move on to our next solidarity statement? Can we introduce the solidarity statement from Cuba? Okay, while we wait, we are going to, once we finish our solidarity statements, we're going to give awards to the people who we believe are deserving of these awards. And one award is called the Kwame Ture Black Star of Labor Award. And we also have another award. It's called the Mowina Koyate Daughters of Africa Award. And a third award is the All African People's Revolutionary Party Legacy Awards. And as soon as we finish with these solidarity statements, we will introduce a brother who will present the awards. Now, do we have any of the other solidarity statements ready to be presented? If not, we might have to go to our next cultural artist. Sister Abina, are you ready?
Queridos hermanos y camaradas, amigos, es un placer para mí compartir hoy con ustedes una vez más en este foro virtual
with you once again in this virtual forum in greeting of the liberation of Africa. In Cuba, the Day of Africa is not a day that happens without notice. For us, it's a day to celebrate and recognize throughout our whole country our heritage and African presence in each of us. And it's a great notice of pride to commemorate the Constitution from 5th of May of 1963 for the organization for the OUA was born in a key moment for the history of our continent, marked by the beginning and consolidation of the anti-colonial fight and for the rebirth of the international fight that has accompanied and crystallized the African Union. It's been
concertación política, intercambio comercial y cooperación,
political concentration, commercial exchange and cooperation, as well as the fight for the human resource and to reach human justice. The adoption of the 2063 agenda is an example for the world on how it will achieve the challenges of sustainable living through the accomplishment of socio-economical programs of guiding things. But this year will signify as well the positioning of the strength of Africa in the international arena. It's for us a moment of pride that the Union of Africa can continue to consolidate as a key actor that speaks with his own voice and that has become a reference point, a impulsive motor and leader
ya no puede ignorar a
the
África.
opposition within
Y ese
developing countries.
reconocimiento
World can no longer
constituye
ignore
un acto
Africa,
de
and this
justicia
recognition
no solo para los
constitutes
países de
a
ese
act of
continente,
justice not
sino
only for
para
the
todas las
countries of
naciones.
that continent, but also for
Cuba
all
es
the
digna
nations outside.
heredera de la cultura
Cuba
y la
is
tradición
a
africana.
dignified
De África,
heritage
además
of the
de
culture
nuestra
and traditions
identidad,
from Africa.
heredamos
From
el
Africa,
espíritu de lucha,
in addition to our
la fuerza ante
identity,
la
we
adversidad,
inherited the
el
spirit and
amor
fight,
por la
the
libertad que
strength within
caracteriza
adversity,
al
the
pueblo
love
cubano
for
hoy.
liberty,
De
and that
África, la
characterizes
nación
the
cubana
Cuban
también
people.
heredó
From
la
Africa,
nobleza,
the
la
Cuban nation also
sabiduría,
inherited
el humanismo,
poverty,
la sensibilidad,
wisdom,
la
humanity,
alegría y el espíritu
sensibility,
de resistencia. Durante su intervención en la Cumbre de la Paz, Nelson Mandela, realizada en la sede de las Naciones Unidas en septiembre de 2018,
in September of
el presidente de Cuba,
2018,
Miguel Díaz-Canel
President
Bermúdez,
of
expresó,
Cuba,
y cito,
Miguel Díaz-Canel Bermúdez,
lazos de
expressed, and I
sangre
quote,
unen a Cuba y a África. La herencia cultural del continente africano en la idiosincrasia de los cubanos
heritage
es
of
innegable. La cultura y
African
los
continent
mejores
in the
valores de
idiosyncrasy
sus
of the
pueblos
Cuban people is
nutrieron al
inchallengeable.
nuestro
The
fin de la
culture has nurtured
Cuba
ours.
y África están
So
unidas
citation.
por fuertes lazos
Cuba and
forjados en
Africa
una historia
is
común de
together with
luchas y de
strong
anhelos
ties with a common
Ningún
story
otro pueblo en el
and
mundo contribuyó
shared
tanto a
spaces.
forjar
Not
la nación
only
cubana
no
como el
other
pueblo
country
africano.
has contributed to
África
us
ha tenido
visiting
y sigue
the Cuban
teniendo
nation
una
as the
poderosa
people of
influencia
Africa.
en nuestra
Africa
cultura y ha
has
desempeñado
had and
un
continues
papel
to have a great
decisivo
influence in
en
our
la
culture
formación
and has
de nuestra
developed a
nacionalidad.
decisive
Los
pace
cubanos
in
tendremos
our own
siempre presente
nationality.
en nuestros
Cubans
corazones
will
las
always have a
innumerables
presence
muestras
in
de
our
amistad,
heart, the
solidaridad y apoyo que hemos recibido
shows of friendship,
de los pueblos que
solidarity, and
representan.
support that we've received from you.
Jamás se borrarán de nuestra memoria
Countries that
las
represent.
páginas
We will
gloriosas
never erase
que
it from
hemos
our
escrito
memory.
juntos en el
The
empeño
pages, the
por
glorious
cumplir
pages that
los
we've written
sueños de
together
los padres fundadores
in
de
the
nuestra
challenge
nación.
of accomplishing the
Hermanos,
dreams of
los
our
organizadores de
founding
este
fathers,
importante foro
siblings.
me han trasladado
The
algunos
organizers
temas
of
a
this
abordar
forum
hoy con ustedes.
might
En lo
have
particular,
gone in depth with some
quisiera
of the topics
reflexionar
today.
sobre
In
una de las
particular,
polémicas más
I would like
importantes
to reflect about one
Muchos
of the
son
polemics
los
in
avatares y los
actuality.
conflictos políticos,
Many
étnicos,
are
religiosos y sociales que
the
viven
avatar
el
and
mundo
conflicts,
de hoy.
religious and
Vivimos
social,
en un mundo
that are
en el
in
que las
today's world.
otronas
We live in a
potencias
world
coloniales
in
continúan
which
atando
the
a los países en
potential
desarrollo
colonial
a políticas
potencies
económicas
continue
en
to
detrimento de los
tie
pueblos.
the countries in development
Así
and
asistimos a un sistema internacional
political
cada vez más
issues that are
globalizado,
disruptive to the
neoliberal,
countries.
unilateral con mecanismos
The
de
neoliberalism,
unilateral
with discriminating mechanism that reaches all spheres of our society. The neoliberal organization has constituted a polemic topic which we speak of often in the current society. Due to what occurs on a daily basis in our world, the influence on the identity of the land, its paper in the world market, the access to the new technologies and its repercussions in the society of this folk has gone beyond into problems that intensify every day more. The consequences are bad. And in the great percent of youth, because of the youth,
la globalización se erige fundamentalmente como un proyecto político que expresa la estrategia de los
become
sectores
a
dominantes
political project that expresses the strategy of the dominant financial capital transnationally that reflects within the interior and exterior of the economy of the country. Its economical focus takes into reference the interdependent economic interdependence in conjunction of the countries in the world, provoked by the increase of the volume of goods and services, as well as the flow in capital, even though in less measurement of the working hand.
la educación,
and then also the issues of sped up technology. Education like culture, political, economy, or other sectors is also affected for globalization that manifests also with double tension. In part, exists the access to information, a universe of knowledge through many ways of communication that could be taken advantage of learning, that we share the richness of popular mestizaje, but we are unable to understand how information is used to destabilize and change the path of the peace and sovereignty of the countries. The predominantly character marks of revolution within itself, controlled by a sector that is monopolizing, very concentrated, that integrates the great transnational of information. It assumes the culture of the great potencies as a universal patron, which for those who are unable to compete against the internet and transnational propaganda, we can ask ourselves, why the aggression towards our identity and our cultures? Then, because the powerful media of the developed world are able to take a penetration process in which in the cultural terrain is directed to create habits and conduct outside of the necessities and possibilities of the current country, to ignore the international cultures and to form within themselves their own image. They create consumerism images far from any nationalities, implementing absolute truth to the country. Fidel Castro, with clear vision, as early as 1983, from the crisis that 2008 was generated, he manifested that neoliberalism had no good, because at that moment the exploitation of the countries will be our issue. Fidel Castro used to insist insanely that the mobilization for the fight of the third world countries and the conjunction of humanity in front of the imperialist reality must have been developed from a universal conscience more aware of its possibilities. However, through the homogeny, liberal hegemony, Fidel admitted that a lot will happen for it to happen. On the meantime, we need to be here fighting for the more fair things, for the more correct ideas, forming conscious. The problems that we face are global, and in front of them, we should seek global solutions. These solutions should be through ideas, education, culture, and consciously. The thought of our commanding boss relating to these themes reminds us that there is no important homework than to create conscience in relation to this problem and take them to the millions of people with our world. The objective conditions and the suffering that most experience, as Fidel mentioned, create the subjective issues of creating conscience. And remembering Jose Marti, and I quote, to be cultural is the only way to be free. With this, I want to say that many are the challenges that we'll face, and also are the folks, many are the folks who decide to have a multilateral system that respects human rights, peace, independence, and the sovereignty of the people, and that with our actions we can fight for a better world to be possible. The unity and solidarity are key, indispensable keys to achieve our objective. The defense of our sovereignty, the defense of our culture, the defense of our identity is essential in front of the attempt of taking the world into a monoculture university. The inheriting imperialist politics of the United States and its allies demonstrate that today more than ever we should continue sharing the flags of friendship and solidarity that will allow us to advance in the construction of peace, prosperity, and the future of our people. And so in this new foundation impose the defense of our history, the defense of our originality, the defense of the right to build a better world without impositions of styles or models. That will be a dignified homage to all our African folks that have done, and also to Fidel Castro, who was the closest to the people of Africa. Live Africa, live the unbreakable bond between Cuba and Africa. Thank you very much. Oh.
Viva Cuban Revolution, viva!
Viva!
Viva Cuban Revolution, viva!
Viva!
Viva African Liberation Day, viva!
Viva!
Vincent Ramos. Hasta Victoria Siempre.
Viva!
Yes. We want to thank our brother from ICAP, which actually means the Cuban Institute of Friendship for the People. And he is actually the director of that organization, the Cuban Institute of Friendship with the People. And he's been involved in ICAP in a long time. It was founded in December 30th, 1960 for the purpose of promoting and explaining to the peoples of the world the relations of solidarity that sparked the Cuban Revolution. ICAP is a vehicle to reach around the globe to people who are in solidarity with Cuba. ICAP is the interface that strengthens the network of solidarity while representing the Cuban people and delivering a strong message of solidarity, not only that benefits the Cuban people, but the peoples of the world who are aspiring to promote the idea that a better world is possible for all. We want to thank our brother immensely, and we want to thank the Cuban people and the Cuban Revolution for their contributions in the liberation of Africa and helping us in our forward progress towards Pan-Africanism. And we know that Fidel Castro, the great leader of the Cuban Revolution, when he was asked, why did he send troops to Cuba? He responded that the blood of Africa is in our veins. And so we have eternal thanks and praise to our Cuban brothers and sisters for their immense contribution to the liberation of Africa. Next, we have a presentation, our closing presentation from our comrade from the African Party for the Independence of Guinea Conakry. I'm sorry.
It's a cultural presentation.
Okay.
Oh boy.
After the cultural presentation is before the awards.
Yes. So we're going with our comrade Domingos Simos Pereira. Brother Domingos Pereira is the president of the African Party.
Oh, he's at the top of the page. No wonder I didn't see him.
In Cape Verde.
Oh.
Comrade is an engineer, and he was born October 20th, 1963. He's in the winner of the Guinea-Bissau presidential elections of 2019, but he was victimized by a coup d'etat in February of 2020. He had already been denied the constitutional right to serve as prime minister again after having led the PIGC to win legislative elections on the 10th of March 2019. Affectionately known as Machu or DSP, is in the vanguard of the struggle against neocolonialism, particularly in West Africa, making him the target of the enemies of our people. After the PIGC won the overwhelming majority of the popular vote in 2014, he served as Prime Minister of Guinea-Bissau from July 2014, but was dismissed by a palace coup d'etat on August of 2015. Before that, he served as the Minister of Public Works
Antes de eso, comenzó el Ministerio de
and Construction and Secretary of State for Transportation and Communications. He is in the second term as president of the PIGC. He was elected at the 8th Congress in 2014 and unanimously re-elected at the 9th Congress in 2018. He previously served as Executive Secretary of the Community of Portuguese Language Countries from 2008 to 2012, coordinating with the states of Angola, Brazil, Cape Verde, Guinea-Bissau, Mozambique, Macau, and Sao Tome and Principe. As a child, he was a young pioneer in the Abel Jazi Pioneers before graduating to the Armored Car Cabral African Youth, also known as JAAC, J-A-A-C. As president of the PIGC, he contributed significantly to taking the party forward to its ideological roots, intensifying systematic political ideological training, which he frequently attends, reinforcing and reorganizing the youth, resulting in the first Congress of JAAC since 1983, after 34 years of not having this Congress. And implementation of the base structures throughout Guinea-Bissau and its diaspora. He participates in weekly political ideological online sessions with the leadership of JAAC. He has reestablished PIGC relations with his historical brother-sister organizations and allies, and ensures that the PIGC is actively in solidarity with revolutionary and progressive countries such as Venezuela and Cuba, etc., and ensures that the PIGC is represented at the Africa-Cuba Solidarity Conferences. He has taken upon the responsibility to coordinate with the political parties in Africa that speak Portuguese, that is Frelimo, MPLA, MRSTV, PSD, PICV, and PIGC. He's an avid reader, constantly researching, studying, and teaching, and married to Paula da Costa Pereira, and they have 3 children. Welcome, my brother. Viva PIGC, viva! Viva PIGC, viva! Viva PIGC, viva!
Dear brothers, it's a great honor to be a part of this celebration. So long live Africa. Long live Africa.
Eu peço desculpas, vou ter que ler o discurso em inglês para facilitar essa comunicação. Penso que depois será também traduzida.
Because maybe it's going to be translated into Portuguese.
Organizers of the All African People Revolutionary Party, Comrade Fernando González Yort, living hero of the Cuban Five and president of ICAP, comrades of the Polisario Front, comrades of Africa, Asia, Latin and North America, Caribbean and Europe, comrade participants. We want to sincerely thank you, our comrades who have dedicated their lives and energies to establishing and developing an all-African People Revolutionary Party, an all-African committee for political coordination to totally liberate and unify our great mother Africa. We would like for the world to know that the PIGC today is still the same Pan-Africanist revolutionary PIGC that was praised during the time of Amilcar Cabral. There are many faithful who are sacrificing and continuing the words and thoughts of Amilcar Cabral, facing all types of harsh conditions. The enemy of the people is doing any and everything to destroy PIGC, knowing that the PIGC is the main weapon that defends the people's interests. Our great Pan-Africanist revolutionary Amilcar Cabral taught us that struggle means permanent victory over difficulties. Victory is certain. The enemies of humanity continuously attack the PIGC like they attack Cuba, like they attack Venezuela, Zimbabwe, Palestine, Sahrawi, Africa, Latin America, and all progressive forces in the world. The attacks against the PIGC are not unique. Imperialist attacks every organization in the world that defends the people's interests against plunder of natural and human resources. While a lot of propaganda tries to make appear that PIGC is weak, the fact of the matter is that it continues to organize today, winning victory after victory until the final one. The PIGC and PICV are among the very few parties in Africa that lost state power and regained it. In the case of PIGC, we have been victimized by coup d'etat of various types, but organized to regain power more than once. We'll regain it again. The people of Guinea-Bissau and the PIGC are one. People organized and united can never be defeated. Our victories have all resulted from the people taking ownership of the revolution. The Cuban Revolution is defended by the organized conscious people. The Polisario Front will liberate Sahrawi with organized conscious people. Palestine will be free with organized conscious people. There is no shortcut. Our eternal leader, Camarada Amilcar Cabral, teaches us that as long as imperialist domination continues to exist, there is something rotten in the heart of humanity. Imperialist domination. It is because men of goodwill, defenders of the culture of peoples, have not yet accomplished their duty on this planet. Comrade Amilcar Cabral taught us that the PIGC is the politically organized expression of our people's culture. The program of the PIGC, since its inception, includes the objective of African unity. It declared to the world that we are democratic socialists. We shall work for it until Africa is totally liberated, unified, and socialist. We cannot wait until Africa is free for our mothers, sisters, daughters to be emancipated. The emancipation of African women is not only a precondition for the liberation of Africa, it is fundamental to social justice and progress. Our party program insists that we concretely organize against exploitation of women. We have always been and are against patriarchy. We have made progress, but we still have a long way to go. We shall win the struggle side by side with our sister comrades. We of the PIGC know that today is not a simple African Day. Amilcar Cabral taught us that it is called African Liberation Day, founded at the first conference of independent African states in April '58. Months later, in December, the first All-African People's Conference for the Liberation Movement, Amilcar Cabral was there representing the PIE before we added GC. Their African Freedom Day, as it was called then, was ratified as a day for the African masses to rededicate themselves to the total liberation of Africa. Since then, not only did the PIGC participate in all the subsequent All-African People's Conference, but also the PIGC organized African Freedom Days. When the Organization of African Unity was founded in 1963, Amilcar Cabral was there. The name African Freedom Day was changed to African Liberation Day. Since then, 1963, PIGC has organized many manifestations of African Liberation Day and is honored to participate in the one today. Revolutionaries show that while we scientifically struggle against diseases such as the new coronavirus, COVID-19, we must continue to organize against COVID sanctions, COVID coup d'etats, and all forms of COVID exploitation. A people united will never be defeated. Kwame Nkrumah was right. Unity presupposes organization. In order to unite, we must be organized. We must have political and ideological coordination to defeat our enemies who coordinate politically, military, technologically, etc. The PIGC emerged, developed, and contribute to political military coordination. Just like we need a PIGC to liberate and unify Guinea-Bissau, we also need a mass Pan-Africanist revolutionary party to liberate and unify Africa with socialism. Many don't know, but this is one of the axes of the PIGC program since 1960s. The approach of Amilcar Cabral, in coordination with great revolutionary Pan-Africanists such as Oseguefu Kwame Nkrumah, Sekou Touré, Ahmed Ben Bella, Gamal Nasser, and anti-imperialists such as Fidel Castro, Che Guevara, and anti-party states such as Ghana, Guinea-Conakry, Algeria, Egypt, Cuba, USSR, Eastern Europe, Algeria. The People's Democratic Republic of Korea has been seriously challenged. During the period where revolutionary parties lost state power in the USSR, Eastern European countries in the early 90s, we faced serious challenges. Structural adjustment programs were imposed upon us. Our state structures became weakened. Our party was attacked left and right and by traitors from the inside. We continue to energize by our people's culture. During this period, our party was seriously weakened, along with many of its brother sister parties and alliance organizations in the socialist countries. There was very little political coordination taking place. We faced these very serious challenges. Fortunately, we won the first multi-party elections in 1994. But in 1998, a political military conflict devastated the country. for more than 1 year. Afterwards, the PIGC lost both the presidential and legislative election of 1999 and 2000. Finally, we were out of the state power. Most observers screamed that the PIGC was finished. They said that once a historical party loses state power, they never regain it again. They were wrong. The PIGC is the political manifestation of our people's culture. Our ideology comes from our culture. Amilcar Cabral taught us in national liberation and culture that our culture is the fruit of our history, like a flower is to the plant. It is a fact of our history that a factor of our making history. We faced multiple challenges, but we stand strong, struggle heroically to regain state power over and over, but had state power violently snatched from us again in a palace coup in 2015, orchestrated by traitors and cahoots with imperialists and neocolonialists. Once again, the presidency and illegitimate so-called government is controlled by anti-people's forces. Those who won the election are in the opposition, while those who lost are the ones who rule. Although it seems gloomy, truth crushed to the earth will rise again. While all the tactics that will be employed can be predicted, one thing is sure. The strategy is to use the PIGC ideological and political power to organize the people to regain state power. This must be secured in the framework of political military coordination on a Pan-African and anti-imperialist scale. This is why we consider the theme of African Liberation Day 2021 as very relevant. We must move forward ever to worldwide Pan-African unity. This is not isolated to Africa, but includes all positive forces in the world struggling against imperialism, neocolonialism, Zionism, patriarchy, racism, and ignorance. We are in this together. We must intensify our political and ideological coordination. The PIGC counts on you, and you can count on the PIGC. We thank you again for your creative effort to organize this international forum in the commemoration of the 63rd anniversary of African Liberation Day. Viva Pan-Africanism! Viva! Viva freedom fighters!
Viva! Viva!
All Pan-Africanists! Gloria! Viva African Liberation Day!
Viva! Viva!
African People's Revolutionary Party!
Viva! Viva!
Viva! Viva political ideological coordination among
Viva!
Viva!
Thank you.
The people united can never be defeated. The people united can never be defeated. The people united can never be defeated. We want to thank you so much, brother, for that brilliant presentation. And at this time, our sister Abana, we are ready for you to step forward. We apologize for the confusion, and we want to have you come and do the cultural presentation by the artist you have at hand. Thank you very much. Viva African Liberation Day! Viva! Viva African Liberation Day! Viva!
Yes, and I thank you so very much. And as your cultural ambassador, I am back on the scene again. And you're going to be so impressed with this next presentation. I'm excited to just announce this. This is Mauli Kobina, who is a Guardianist, Pan-Africanist, revolutionary beatmaker musician. And one of their favorite quotes is, "Believe in God, lift yourself, lift your family, lift your clan, lift your race, lift your community, lift your nation, and be an imperial whole. And that's Marcus Mosiah Garvey. That's one of the favorite quotes of this musician. And without further delay, please enjoy this. I'm excited that you even have the opportunity to see it. Thank you.
Rascavi, we keep on fighting to end domination. Far right. We keep marching through the hills, mountains, crossing many streams. We're moving to the north, west, south, and east. Resistance against our foes. Jah go let them drink their woes and serve humanity with equity. We break down walls of oppressions, lock doors of dominations, set the captives free and misery. Even though the battle is hot, we keep fighting without retreat till we defeat the enemy. Even though the battle is tough, we keep fighting without retreat till we defeat the enemy. We keep on fighting to end domination. We keep on fighting for true liberation. We keep on fighting to end domination. We keep on fighting for true liberation. We keep on fighting. We fight hard blows, you know, to take our lands, we know, to make sure we all reap from what we sow. We fight for Africa unity, each according to ability, where sons and daughters will be living with dignity. Even though the battle is tough, we keep fighting without retreat till we defeat the enemy. We keep on fighting to end domination. We keep on fighting for true liberation. We keep on fighting to end domination. We keep on fighting for true liberation. We keep on fighting. Millions of Stephen because millions of Seputu race for jam, for jam, for jam. Millions of Stephen because millions of Seputu race for jam, for jam. We keep on fighting to end domination. We keep on fighting for true liberation. We keep on fighting to end domination. We keep on fighting for true liberation. We keep on fighting. Far right, rebel music.
Beats Prime on the mix.
All right. I hope you really enjoyed that presentation. Forward ever, backward never. Viva!
Viva African Liberation Day! Viva!
Viva!
Viva African Liberation Day! Viva!
Viva!
Viva African Liberation Day! Viva!
Viva!
The people united will never be defeated. Oh, wow. We had such a good day today. Our African Liberation Day program. We're now going to move on with our awards ceremony. And we would like for our brother Dela to step forward to do the presentations of the African Liberation Day Awards.
Thank you, Zizwe. It is an honor to be presenting this year's recipients. The Kwame Ture Black Star of Labor Award began as a Black Star of Labor Award following the transition of the immortal Kwame Ture to the ancestors in November 1998. The award was renamed after him. Kwame Ture, formerly known as Stokely Carmichael, spent his entire life in service to African people and all of humanity. This service was manifested in his tireless work to organize African people for revolutionary change against capitalism, imperialism, and white supremacy, and for the solution of Pan-Africanism, the total liberation and unification of Africa under one unified socialist government. The criteria for the Black Star Award are revolutionary, socialist, communist organizations, movements, nations, and/or individuals that represent the best of the revolutionary Pan-Africanist and/or socialist movements, past, present, and future. 2021 recipient of the Kwame Ture Black Star of Labor Award is Lizzie Majadi Bodu. Lizzie Majadi Bodu is a founding member of the Pan-Africanist Congress of Azania, PAC, from Molokeng on the west rand of Johannesburg. She later resided in Kujiso. She trained in Lesotho in the 1960s and became an operative for Pogo, the PAC's military wing. In the Randfontein, Bakersdale, and Monsiville areas, Carmen Majadi Bodu is a dedicated Pan-Africanist. Mowina Koyate Daughters of Africa Award was made in the honor of Comrade Mowina Koyate, a founding member of the All African Women's Revolutionary Union, AAWRU, the women's wing of the AAPRP. She dedicated over 29 years of her life to building the AAPRP and the AAWRU. Comrade Mowina was an astounding organizer and was highly respected by all who came to know and work with her. She made her transition into the ancestral realm in September 2002. The same criteria for the Black Star Award is applied to the Daughters of Africa Award, related to revolutionary women's organizations, individuals, and/or movements. The purpose of the Daughters of Africa Award is to elevate the position of African women and reinforce her revolutionary role, especially in the Pan-African and/or socialist movements. Our first recipient of the Mowina Koyate Daughters of Africa Award is Miriam Miranda. Miriam Miranda is a land rights activist from Honduras. As a member of the Black Fraternal Organization of Honduras, she has fought the tourist industry's effort to steal land that belongs to her people, the Garifuna. The Garifuna are indigenous and African, and they have been heavily impacted by the drug trade and environmental crimes. In fighting both, Comrade Miranda has been repeatedly arrested and beaten by fascist Honduran police agencies. In 2014, she was kidnapped by a drug cartel as part of a failed attempt to frustrate her work and that of her organization. She has received numerous human rights awards for her work. Our second recipient of the Mowina Koyate Daughters of Africa Award is Mildred Aristide. Mildred Aristide was born and raised in Bronx, New York. After working for 5 years as a commercial transactions attorney, she moved to Washington, D.C. in 1992 to join the legal team representing Jean Aristide, then exiled president of Haiti. She drafted his speeches representing the Haitian government at high-level meetings and coordinated press. In 1994, she moved to Haiti, where she continued to work on behalf of the Haitian government. She and President Aristide married in 1996 and have 2 daughters. Comrade Aristide's work for Haiti included presiding over the National AIDS and Tuberculosis Commission, authoring Child Domestic Service in Haiti and its historical underpinnings, and she was an advocate for girls' education. After February 2004 coup d'etat, and while the Aristides were exiled in South Africa, Comrade Aristide and her husband were appointed research fellows at the University of South Africa. Comrade Aristide also joined the Center for African Renaissance, becoming a founding editor of its academic journal. The Aristides returned to Haiti in March 2011, where they set out to reopen the university they founded in 2002. Carmen Aristide is an active member of the Council of Administration, and she provides continuing service to the university. And our third and final recipient of the Mowina Koyate Daughters of Africa Award is Charo Mena-Rojas. Charo Mena-Rojas is an Afro-Colombian human rights defender with more than 2 decades of experience in activism at the national and international levels. Comrade Mena-Rojas is the national coordinator of advocacy and outreach for Black Communities Process and a member of the Afro-Colombian Solidarity Network. She was extensively involved in the Havana peace process, serving on the Gender Committee of the Ethnic Commission. Thus, she was instrumental in guaranteeing the Afro-Colombian and Indigenous women's rights were included in the final agreement. Comrade Mena-Rojas has worked for many years to educate grassroots communities of African descent about Law 70 of 1993, which recognizes their cultural, territorial, and political rights. Mena-Rojas' organization successfully advocated for enactment of this law, as well as the development of the Observatory of Racial Discrimination in Colombia, and the collection and maintenance of specific statistics about people of African descent in the 2005 consensus. Comrade Mena-Rojas raises awareness about gross human rights violations against women of African descent at a national and international levels, calls for accountability, and provides protection for African descended women. Now moving on to our AAPRP Legacy Award, which is given to our organizers who have given a lifetime in service to building the AAPRP and global Pan-African struggles. We thank them for past and continued selfless work and sacrifice. They are the true cadre who inspire us and generations to come. This year, we recognize Maisha Washington, a revolutionary, educator, historian, master storyteller, wife, mother, daughter, and sister. She was among the earliest members of the AAPRP in the US. She was also the first elected coordinator of the newly founded AAWRU and served in the Central Committee. Despite illness, she was busy hosting the 2020 African Liberation Day International Symposium and continued to work in the Maryland area with sisters in Liberia with the local elders until she joined the Ancestors in October 2020. We also recognize Olu Owono Gordon, a comrade, brother, friend, father, husband, warrior, revolutionary, teacher, Panafu organizer, intrepid journalist, AAPRP cadre, and Central Committee member, great son of Africa, and so much more. Born in Nigeria, Comrade Olu lived in several locations over the years, but his love for Sierra Leone was so strong, after the nation's civil war, he moved home to publish his dynamic newspaper, Peep. In his fight against neocolonialism in April 2011, he too joined the Ancestors, but leaves us with a wealth of inspiration. That brings us to our end of our Awards Aspect program. It was an honor to present the recipients for this year. Forward ever, backward never, we will win.
Thank you, Comrade Della, for your presentation of the African Liberation Day Awards in our African Liberation Day of 2021, where our theme was Forward Ever to Worldwide Pan-African Unity. Those of you who participated, you can see that we emphasize the necessity for organization. And if you heard all the speakers and the participants, we stress the need to organize our people for the total liberation and unification of Africa under scientific socialism. It's going to take all of us. It's going to take all the African masses, those at home and those abroad, to be a part of this process of developing and organizing our people to reach our objective. It's been a very, very good African Liberation Day program, both days. This past Sunday, May 23rd, and today, May 25th, the official date of African Liberation Day. You can visit our party at aaprp-intl.org. We want you to go to our website to sign up to join our party, the All African People's Revolutionary Party, and or support our party. And if you don't like our party, we want you to please find an organization to join that is genuinely working for the liberation of African people at home and abroad, as well as to support the just struggles of all the oppressed and exploited people worldwide. Africa must be free. Africa must be unified as socialists. Our people are in desperate need of being organized. The biggest problem we have is a lack of organization. The only weapon we have is our ideology. We must develop and politically educate the masses about the correct ideology for the African Revolution. We believe the most succinctly correct ideology is Nkrumah's of Touraism. I just want to end with one thing, as our brother Kwame Ture used to say all the time. The masses must be organized. The masses must be organized. Join some organizations working for our people. And if you're not in an organization, by your very act of inactivity, you are in fact against the people. Viva African Liberation Day, viva! Viva African Liberation Day, viva!
Viva!
Eastway Letu!
Africa!
Eastway Letu!
Africa!
Amandla! Amandla! Aluta continua!
Luta continua!
Aluta continua!
Victoria! Continua!
Hasta Victoria siempre!
Venceremos!
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 We thank you one and all for participating in our African Liberation Day 2021. We hope to hear from you. We hope you join our organization or some organization. And please contact us. Questions? If you got any ability to support us, we would greatly appreciate it. Go to our website once again, www.aaprp-intl, like international.org. Thank you, all our people, all our comrades who put in all this great work to organize African Liberation Day. And we just forward, ever, backward, never, to the total liberation and unification of Africa under scientific socialism. Thank you very much.
Ready for...
I belong. basa kana mama